Hey y'all, it's me, Stu Helm, the food fan, here with another exciting, or back, I should say, with another exciting episode of the Asheville Food Fans podcast. And it's just like old times. I'm flubbing my lines, the very first words out of my mouth. And Rick, what do you think of that?
It's good to have you back, brother.
I'm here with my usual co-host, my longtime co-host, Rick Trillia, the world's greatest eater and burgeoning podcast celebrity, getting styled out at the restaurants and stuff these days. Rick,
Oh yeah, it's been like unexpected and wonderful at the same time. So
there you go. I told
yeah,
you, didn't I tell you? Like when you first started doing it, and I said something to you about like you should get invited to press events and you should
sure.
start getting free food because now you're literally doing food media. So they should
Yeah,
treat you nice, Rick. You're a celebrity in my book, and you always have been, but now the world recognizes.
just a small town boy.
That's right. Small town celebrity. That is one of my little taglines. And you told me you're going to add world's greatest eater to your business card.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a business card that says "World's Greatest Eater" among other things.
That's great.
So
Nice.
and we'll talk about this, but I was at a new restaurant in town, and the guy asked me for my card when I said I was a food podcaster with you,
Hmm.
and I was like, "Oh my, I need a
Yeah.
card."
You're nobody without a card. You're just
I
some
know.
person
He gave
saying
me
they're a
his
food.
card, and so I felt really like, oh.
Yeah. I had some snazzy cards printed up. Let me see. I've got them in my pocket. And of course, you're talking about this new restaurant called Ukiah, and we both went. Here's my card. Let's see.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Nice.
This new Japanese steakhouse in town called Ukiah, and you went while I was out of town, and I went almost immediately after getting back in town. And we are going to dedicate a whole segment of the show pretty much to raving about Ukiah because it was so good.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll do that during the where'd you eat, what'd you cook section. We do have segments to our show,
Yeah.
and the first segment is coming up, Rick. It's right around the corner, two or 3 seconds away, and it's the wing thing. And this podcast grew out of a smaller podcast called The Wing Thing, and we still do it. We still eat a lot of wings. We're dedicated to our wing eating. Two of the biggest wing fans out there. And
Gotta be.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so we always talk about the wings we ate and how many wings we ate, what kind of wings we ate, and all of that. And Rick, I'm here to tell you, in the past 3 weeks or 4 weeks, however long it's been, I have not eaten any wings.
Well, I'm glad to hear that because you were in a part of the world where there were much better things to eat than wings. So there
I
you
had
go.
opportunities to
Yeah.
eat wings, and
Yeah.
I opted for things like salmon and
Chowder.
oysters and
Chowder.
chowder. I had a ton of chowder. Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
all
you ate
right.
some wings, so
I did
hit
eat
it
some
up,
wings.
brother. Where'd you go?
So
What'd you get?
not new to me, but I went with I'm going through, as I mentioned previously in private conversation, I'm going through a hiatus with bread. And
Yeah,
so like last week before it started, I ordered my current favorite pizza in town, which is the Sicilian from Del Vecchio's.
nice.
And I got their wings because I've had their wings before. They're very good. Uh, Definitely top 10 in town, I think. And, so I got some
Wow.
of those. But but yeah, they're solid, traditional buffalo, and just ate them all up. So,
You
but that
like your buffalo
I will
wings.
the Sicilian pizza from Del Vecchio's, dude. I don't know, man. It's as perfect as a Sicilian pizza can be.
Wow.
Crispy crust, like perfect melt. We get like pepperoni and black olives usually, and it's just perfect. I miss it so much, and it's not even been a week.
So you're counting pizza as bread?
Yeah, I am.
Dude, these
Yeah,
are
I know.
sad days for you.
Yeah, it's not forever, man. It's not forever.
No, is this
It's
going to be
only
a
for about
temporary
30
thing?
pounds. 30
Oh,
pounds, maybe. We'll
you're going
see.
to try to lose 30 pounds.
Yeah, and I'm exercising now too, and I even got a fitness watch. Like, look at this. Like,
Oh,
I'm on it.
dang. All right. Well, now the audience knows, and we'll have to track your weight from now on, Rick.
No, no.
We're going to have a meter and we'll have
No,
an
because I'm building
outline of
muscle, so I'm
you.
going to get heavier. Actually,
You're gonna get heavier. Just now that the pressure's on, you'll crack under the pressure and just start power eating ice cream at midnight and stuff. Or no, just
yeah,
loaves
I
of
didn't
bread.
stop doing that, but yeah,
Yeah, loaves of bread. Well, as long as you can still eat ice cream, I agree with that. Any diet that allows ice cream is fine with me.
we're all good.
Well, I understand. Like carbs, as we said earlier, like in the pre-show, like carbs are kind of deadly in a way. I mean, not literally deadly, as far as we know, but they'll pack on the pounds, and they make me sleepy, like so sleepy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
lowers
like
the
I eat a
motivation.
sandwich.
So.
What's that?
Yep. They lower the motivation. So
They do. And I have other things in my life to lower motivation with that are
exactly.
much more fun to
So
smoke.
why
I
not
mean,
get?
eat.
Then why not get ahead of it? Yeah.
Well, I
Anyway,
commend you,
yeah. So
man. Diets are
that's my
tough.
wings.
That's
So
your wings. So a high recommendation for the Del Vecchio's traditional buffalo wings, and an even higher recommendation for their Sicilian pizza.
yeah, if anybody orders their Sicilian doesn't like it, I will buy that pizza from them.
All right. All right. The challenge is out there.
Challenge
I'm
is
going to
out
buy this pizza
there. All right,
because maybe I won't like it. And then it'll be free.
there you go.
That'll be so great. Getting a free pizza I didn't like. It's what a goal. You know who has a really good Sicilian pizza is what's that one that's got the very Italian name? They have man, I'm totally spacing out. They're like favelas. That's it, favela.
Yeah, I've never gotten from them. So
Their Sicilian's really good. I recommend it. I
Right,
think they call
right.
it grandma's or something like that.
Yeah. I've seen it, but I
It's
haven't.
real good. I
Gotten
recommend it.
So.
I had pizza as well from Papa Nick's. Papa Nick's
Oh yeah,
Pizza.
yeah. I saw they're on Kickback now. That's great.
Yeah, Papa Nick's. They're really good, and that's the reason I ordered them. I was working for Kickback, calling in orders and stuff, and a lot of people were ordering Papa Nick's, and I was like, "What's up? Are they good or what?" And so I ordered just a small pizza. They make like a 10-inch, and just got cheese, which is always the way to start with a new pizza parlor. And I mean, they're not new to me.
Yeah.
And man, it was real good. Like, I don't know, like people from New York probably be poo-pooing this pizza because it wasn't traditional or whatever, but it was real good. It reminded me of the pizzas I grew up eating in my area of Massachusetts, where a lot of Greek people live and a lot of Portuguese people lived and still do. And they both make a unique kind of pizza, but most of the pizza places where I grew up were run by Greek people or Portuguese people. So
There you go.
I give a big recommendation for Nick's Pizza.
I've been wanting to try them. I want to try their burgers. I want to try their pizza, and I want to try their heroes. So
okay, yeah, I want to try all that too, Rick. And I wonder if they have wings.
they might.
We'll have to try those if they do.
There you go.
All right, it seems like we're full blown into where'd you eat, what'd you cook. So let's just roll forward with that. And before we get into my exciting travels, I'll go over what I've eaten like right before I left and since I got back. Man, I ate at Twisted Laurel yesterday, and I have been craving their smash burger for like weeks because it's been weeks since I've been able to eat it. And I told the chef, and I tell the world right now, this is instant nomination for 2021 Burger of the Year award.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to try it.
It's real basic. Like the other nominee so far is the Crunchburg from Malvern, which is not basic. It's got a unique thing of the tostada shell. So this one is very super basic. It's so good, Rick. Like, oh man, it's usually I don't eat a whole burger all at once because it's too much food for me, and I save the other part for later. But this one, I'm just like halfway through, and I'm like, I can do it, and I just keep on keeping on.
There you go. There you go, man.
It's
nothing like a good
motivator.
smash burger too.
Man, and they do it a special way where they put mustard on the grill and smash it.
Oh
into the
yeah,
mustard.
that's legit, man.
Yeah, so And that's Chef Tom LaFauci up there at Twisted Laurel. And Pat, my buddy Patty, got a fried chicken sandwich that looked so bomb. And so I'll have to try that up at Twisted Laurel next. So, as always, week after week, I give recommendations to go to Twisted Laurel in downtown Asheville. Truly one of my favorite restaurants these days.
I still haven't been there. Don't hate me.
Dude, I don't hate you. Never. Just you gotta go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of restaurants, and you live way the fuck. Oh, dang it! What time is it? It's 5:40. All right.
5:40.
5:40. 10 minutes in the show, I dropped an F-bomb. I gotta scrub that out before we go broadcast tomorrow on the radio. You live way the heck out there, and I don't know.
West by West Asheville.
Yeah, that's right. So you got your own food shenanigans going on out there and stuff. So now I'm all discombobulated.
I'm cracking up laughing so much right now.
Oh man, I'm an idiot.
You're out of practice. You were doing good for a long time, man.
I was doing great. I had to scrub, and I recorded a show without you. Did you know
I
that?
heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had a guest, and I did it through Zoom, and then I uploaded it to WPVM, so I hope it got broadcast. But I dropped an S-bomb in that and had to scrub that out. So I'm not doing as good as you thought I was, Rick.
Yeah.
I'm trying, though.
Yeah.
Any hoodles. So then I went to I also went to Pax Tavern with Patty. When's the last time you went there?
It's been a while since I've been there. I've gotten them. I've ordered them a couple times in the last year. So
through Kickback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
this is
like
the first time I've been inside in over a year. So.
Okay. Yeah. It's probably been a year and a half at least for me. So.
And I got their beer cheese Philly, and it was real tasty.
Amazing.
Like very tasty. I enjoyed it very much.
Is it cheddar cheese?
Yeah, it's like a melt. It's like a liquid pub cheese type of thing.
Yep.
And it's got a little to it with the beer.
Nice.
You can taste the beer in it, and it was real good. It was real tasty. So I recommend that. And we got some deviled eggs, and the deviled eggs had bacon bits on them, like real bacon.
Real bacon.
Up on them.
Nice.
Yeah. And they were really tasty, especially the yolk and stuff, the yolk mixture. But I'll tell you what, the bacon was cold, and man, if they had just zing that bacon for half a second before they put it on top of those eggs, it would have made all the difference in the world. It would have been like, I would say, let me do some math, about 1,000 times more delicious. Yeah, so I didn't know that. I bet you didn't know that I was such a math whiz, Rick.
No, man, you got your terminal right there wherever you go.
Math is one of my strong suits.
All right.
No, that's the biggest lie. They talk about the big lie, and that is a big lie, but this was an even bigger lie, that I'm good at math. And I right before I left town, I ate at All Souls Pizza and got some pan-fried oysters. And man, they were good. I do like raw oysters, but cook me up some oysters, and I'll pick those over the raw ones every time. And I know the foodies are going to hate me for that, but man, they were so good.
Yeah, I can go either way. I ate too many oysters once upon a time, about 14 years ago, and so I developed a oyster sort of allergy sort of thing, and so I can't do the raw ones like I used to, but I can still eat fried ones. So,
okay.
Or Rockefeller, So
yeah, Rockefeller, very good.
But
baked oysters.
I love oysters, man. Oh.
Yeah, they're really good. I grew up in New England where you eat more clams than oysters.
Yep.
And so
clams are wonderful too.
And I love clams, and I love clams with the bellies on them. Those are hard to find.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't like that. They're like, you're eating clam poop. And I'm like, no, you're eating pre-digested clam. It's not poop yet. It's still in the stomach.
Yeah. There you go.
It's got all the good stuff. That's where the flavor is, because the oysters are, or the clams, they're eating the good stuff on the bottom of the ocean, like the toxins and little plastic micro beads and all of that. You
Oh
get all
yeah,
your
man.
micro beads that way, Rick.
You know who would eat clams? I bet Gigi Allen.
Gigi Allen eat raw clams off
I bet
of
he would.
somebody's unmentionables.
Yes.
Let's not
Anyway,
mention
foreshadowing.
foreshadowing. Because Rick, I heard there's a interview at the end of the show.
There is with the organizer, the main organizer of the Asheville Punk Rock Hot Dog Festival.
All
Calling
right.
it a festival. I don't know if it is a festival, but
It's a competition, I think.
competition. Okay, there you go.
I don't want to oversell it with festival.
Yeah.
And
Festival
that
implies
person is
camping and patchouli.
what's that?
Festival implies camping and patchouli.
Well, there might be
If you're in
patchouli.
Asheville.
Yeah, there might be patchouli, but if anybody starts camping, out of there. Pull up their stake posts and get their tent right out of there, Rick. No camping allowed.
No camping at the Masonic Temple.
That's right. So, all right, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
We'll just say July 31st at the Masonic Temple. Punk Rock
All right.
Hot Dogs tickets are still available, and then you're going to interview me.
We're going to delve into that
talking
more deeply.
Yeah.
So, and I have one thing to add for Where'd You Eat.
Okay.
I've gone twice in the last 10 days to Griff's here in Candler. Griff's restaurant and kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Griffin is his chef. It's a family business. It's wonderful. The food is amazing. They're right by next door to the library in Candler. Right off, I guess it's where Sand Hill kind of becomes Sardis. But anyway, it's just been really wonderful. We've taken guests from out of town there. We've just gone ourselves. It's been fantastic, and he's a wonderful guy. So 5 stars plus for Griff's. Yeah.
I have to go. Like, I have talked to them like on the phone and through email, and they're super nice people. The menu looks really good. Looks like just my kind of food.
It's very good food. It's crazy good for Candler, especially. So
all right. Well, you all heard it from Rick, world's greatest eater. If he says it's good, it's good.
Try to get him on the show, maybe. I'll work on him. Maybe try to get him on the show.
Yeah, we'll get back to getting guests on the show. I had to throw today's show together pretty quickly, so I didn't have time to scare up a guest. But we'll get one. Well, cool, man. And then let's go backtrack a little bit and talk about Ukiah, the Japanese steakhouse, because that's someplace we both ate.
Let's talk about Ukiah.
So they had a press thing, like a pre-opening press party, like right while I was out of town. And man, I was so excited about this place opening up that I did something I don't usually do. And I wrote to them and I was like, man, I'm going to miss your press thing. Will you set up a private tasting for me? I'm, in good faith, I'll take pictures, stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, sure. And then they were like, how many people? And when do you want to come in? And I was like, I could parlay this into my birthday dinner, which, I always try to go someplace real special on my birthday, Dawn's birthday, anniversary. And then those places are like a little more likely to get nominated or even win the Meal of the Year award. Right. So taking a big risk going to someplace new on my birthday, but I had a good feeling. And they were very accommodating. And I went on my vacation. I come back, and on my birthday we went. And Rick, the level of service, first of all, was incredible. I know you went while I was away on vacation, so you can attest to this.
It was impeccable.
It was 5-star service.
Yeah.
Like, every person.
And I tried to think about it in the context. All right, it's the first week. They're making a big splash, and I sort of expected a lot of extra attention, but I didn't expect what I got, which was just over the top, amazingly attentive. Got to know the GM, Michael Studley, who used to be GM at Oxbar for a while. And we traded some emails since then. So he's a great guy. And it was just a wonderful experience. So,
absolutely. I think, from the minute we walked in, we were greeted by the host. We were seated by another person. We had a server who was our main server. We had about 2 or 3 other servers who brought us things.
Yeah, right.
And of course, like, I'm a food blogger and they knew I was coming, but I looked around and everybody was getting the same level of service.
Oh yeah,
And
that happened before they knew I was involved with any kind of food blogging. So
right,
they were on top.
I think 3 or 4 people from the kitchen came out and touched our table and said, "Hey, how you doing?" Met the executive and the owner and, sous chefs, and it was fantastic level of service. And the atmosphere was great, like a really sort of chic but cozy atmosphere. And the music was great. That's something that Don and I will often critique, is the music in restaurants can be awful and distracting and a bunch of mainstream crap that we never want to hear again, because we're like old enough that we've heard every popular song like 5,000 times, and we never want to hear these songs again, even great songs. So, but it was a bunch of like B-sides. We heard some Sam Cooke, but it wasn't like one of his popular songs. And then a bunch of stuff that we were not really familiar with, but was listenable. And the music got louder as the evening went on, and it kept up with the level of how loud people were talking. So by the time we left, which was pretty early, we got there at 5:30, and I think we left at 7:30 or 8. And it was bumping by the time we left. And
Yeah, that was the same experience we had too. It was like we got there, we actually had a later arrival, so it was kind of pumping when we got there, but by the time we left, it was really going. So
yeah, and I like that. I think that the music should keep pace with the vibe. And the vibe was getting more bumping, more lively. There were more people sitting at the high tops. Every table was full by the time we left. And I'm sure once they're full capacity, said they've only opened half their dining room because of staff, like everybody having staffing issues. And he said, there's no question in my mind that this is going to be one of the most popular restaurants in Asheville, like top tier, like top 5 restaurants perhaps in Asheville in terms of the quality of everything and the atmosphere, the service, the decor, the music, all of it. And the hours will be, they're already talking about opening for lunch. They're doing brunch. They're doing dinner. And we haven't even talked about the food yet, Rick.
Right. It's like you got all that, and that's fantastic, but it pales in comparison to the food, in my opinion.
The food. So it's a Japanese steakhouse. And when we went in, we didn't order from the menu. We just, the chefs came out and they were like, "How do you want to do this?" And I was like, do it however you want to do it. You just send us some dishes you want us to try, dishes you want me to take pictures of. And so then stuff just started coming out. And we had 3 raw dishes. We had the oysters, raw oysters. Mm-hmm. Did you have those by chance? Oh, you can't eat raw oysters.
Yeah, we passed on those. We had the fried squid.
Okay.
And then later the fried shrimp.
We didn't have either of those. So let me just say the oysters were excellent. People who are fans of raw oysters, these were some of the best, if not the best I've ever had. They were
fantastic.
They were meaty but not chewy. They were briny and kelpy, which was a word that the chef used that I had never heard before. So he said like the water will be kind of briny and that the insides of the stomach will be kind of kelpy. And that was true. And the I can never say this word, Rick. Help me out. The mignette was excellent. And some purists will be like, "Oh, I don't put the mignette on the oysters. I just want to taste the oysters." And while I respect that, I'm like, the chef made a mignette that goes with these oysters. So I did that. And
you know what? Not putting mignette on your raw oysters is bougie. That's all I'm going to say.
I might agree with that, Rick. Yeah, it's like, I mean, if that's really the way you prefer, then whatever. But there's a lovely say it again. Mignette. I always want to say minaret for some reason, like the Russian.
Some mignonette, maybe.
Mignonette.
I'm trying to spell it in my head, but it's It's a
I'll just call
vinegar
it the
and
juice.
salt and sweet splash,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it,
This
it
one
it
was a little
brings
bit.
oysters alive. So
It does. And this one was sparkling, so there was like some effervescence.
champagne, nice,
Yeah,
nice.
something. Yeah. So the oysters were great. The other two raw dishes we had were the tuna and the hamachi. And I understand you got the hamachi, is that
The
right?
hamachi to me was, I mean, dill, mint, and basil. Who does that?
There was a very punchy herb mix on top, and I loved it.
It was fantastic. Like
Yeah,
I thought at first I was like, oh God, I saw what came and I was like, this is gonna this is gonna cover up the hamachi because yellowtail is pretty subtle.
it is.
Wow,
Yeah,
just amazing.
yeah, I agree. Like I had the same sort of emotional arc, Rick.
Yeah,
I saw there was a big old mint leaf right there. It's like, is that a mint leaf? I'm not that big of a fan of mint,
yeah.
like, all
It
right.
was such an adventurous presentation. That was one of the early things we got at the table, and it just blew us away. I was just like, this is stupid good.
Yeah,
So
agreed. It was insanely good. And so the tuna was equally good. Just like big 6 pieces of nice tuna in the bottom of a bowl with some nice sauce and a little bit of just a very, not that whole crazy spring mix, but just some green onion.
miso or green onion,
No, some
yeah,
green
yeah,
onion
green
on
onion
top.
shaved on it, yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that.
And it was fantastic. I mean, it was the cliche of like melt in your mouth, like
Yeah.
just like eating blocks of liquid silk or something like that, dude. It was just like, holy moly. I want to drop 10 F bombs and 3 S bombs right now. How good that tuna
It was
is.
amazing. It was
Yeah.
so amazing. So
Now, they sent out a number of dishes, but they sent out a superstar dish. Did you see? I don't think you ordered it, but did you see the picture I posted of that deep fried mushroom cluster?
I saw it. We did not get it. So
Holy moly. This thing is going to make them famous. Like, and everybody in Asheville going to be raving about this thing. I was having like pre FOMO about like there's gonna be some nights they'll run out, and I'm like I better order early. So it's just like this cluster of mushrooms. You know how in the grocery store you can buy just like mushrooms and they're all tiny and all together
yeah,
on
kind of
little.
like oysters or something like oyster
Yeah,
mushrooms.
and they
Yeah.
weren't oyster mushrooms; they were something else, but just like that.
They were
And then they're
shiitake, I think, right? Maybe.
maybe little tiny caps and long thin stems, and they dip it in tempura batter and then they just deep fry that whole thing.
Oh, okay. That wasn't shiitake. All right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now I know
Um,
what you're talking about. Yeah,
I can look on Facebook. It will be a little weird though
yeah.
while we're doing the podcast, but
That's all cool.
um, it was so unique and so delicious and so just incredible that like Dawn can't eat deep fried things, so she had like a couple little pieces of it, and this thing was like the size of a baby's head. And I was like, I looked at her and I was like, I'm gonna eat this whole thing, and she said, "You go for it," and I was like, man, the mushrooms inside, because when they at the stems, they all come into sort of a block of mushroom material, and it just comes apart in strings, almost like string cheese. And it was so tender and delicate. And this thing, I'm telling you what, 5 stars, five,
All right.
6 stars out of a 5-star scale.
I will certainly get it next time. So
Do it. And it comes with like a Tokyo ranch dressing, which was just like, I don't even know what that is, but it's the most beautiful thing in the world. And you dip this mushroom in that Tokyo ranch and had a little kick to it too. So
oh yeah, that sounds great.
I want to be the first person to say that this is a superstar dish and it's a nominee for best deep fried thing of the year. It'll be pretty tough to
Nice.
beat, let me tell you that. Somebody would have to
All
deep
right.
fry an angel or a unicorn. Somebody offered me a deep fried fairy, maybe, with the magic intact.
with the magic intact. Yeah,
Yes,
that's a
maybe.
good way to talk about it. Their food is magical. Like it's gonna. I agree. I think they're gonna be in the top, easily in the top 5. Once they get a rep going, and
Yep.
people are, you know, I've already seen a lot of people talking about how great it is, and it's
Me
like
too.
everything we had was blew us away. Like every dish blew us away, and
Yeah.
it was like we kept getting dish after dish after dish, and we wanted to try. We didn't get like the big entree dishes because
Right.
we wanted to try as much of the menu as we could, and
Agree.
so man, it was so fantastic. Like I
We
was
didn't get the
so
ramen. They brought us a little cup of the ramen broth for us to try, but chef was like, we didn't want to bring you the ramen because we do want to bring you an array of stuff, and the ramen's pretty filling. But
yeah.
I definitely want to go back for the ramen. The broth was fantastic. We got
We should go
some.
back. I want to do the duck dumplings, the hot pot.
Other people were talking about the hot pot, said it was really good, so I want to try that too.
Yeah,
We tried some gyozo, and it was bacon and
yeah,
shiitake. Did you try
yeah.
those?
Yes, it's very good.
So smoky and so bacony,
So
like
delicious.
really
So
tasty.
stupid good.
And you tried the steak, the hanger steak?
Oh, I got the Wagyu
Yeah.
sticks.
Oh,
So
the
like the
steak.
little, so
Yeah.
we were going small plates.
Right,
So
right.
we did that small, and it was it was just enough, and it was wonderful. Like it was wonderful.
I
So
bet those Wagyu steaks are really good because we got the broccolini sticks, and they were fantastically good. And that's broccoli.
yeah,
So who
yeah,
cares? No, just kidding. I love broccoli.
yeah.
Don't the broccoli fans of the world don't write me hate mail. Um, but the Wagyu sticks were probably fairly comparable to the flank steak in terms of flavor, and I'm sure they were
Yeah, I think it
expertly
was the same
prepared.
steak. So
Yeah,
they just smaller amounts. But
and the flank steak was phenomenal. Like I don't know, like I compared it the whole meal and the whole experience, but especially the steak, I compared to Night Bell,
right.
which was one of my winners of best restaurant in Asheville at one time, and they closed, as we all the foodies know. But they used to serve a flank steak on a board with some chimichurri. Is that what it is?
Mhm.
Chimichurri and a
Yeah.
little of this and a little of that, and it was like phenomenal, like really good. And one of my favorite things. I might have even given it a nomination or an award at some point. But this Wagyu is, I have to say, even better. No hurt feelings for Chef Katie or Chef Eric Morris, strictly because it's Wagyu. It was like even more tender, even
Oh
more
yeah.
flavorful.
Just melt
Just,
in your mouth. Yeah.
yep. Again, the cliche, the melt in your mouth piece of steak. And they asked me how I wanted it cooked. And Rick, what do I say when people ask me how I want a nice piece of meat cooked? I say, however the chef wants to cook it. And the server, I think she must have got it wrong because she said, well, the chef recommends it medium well. And I was like, all right, however the chef wants to cook it. And then it came out, it was seared and practically raw on the inside. It was
Nice. There you go.
fantastically good, so tender. Like you could just pull it apart with your fingers and stuff. And then I think that's about it in terms of what we had with our meal.
How
We
about
had
the
the dessert.
Tokyo street corn?
Oh yeah, did you have that?
Man.
Dude, yeah. And you know what? Like flavor, presentation, creativity, all of that. It had the Kewpie mayo on it. It had the Bonito dancing flakes, and they were dancing away. And so everything was on point. And here's like just pushed it right over the top. It's a great bite. We were looking at it. It comes out as a cob, and we're looking at it, we're thinking, well, how are we going to share this thing? And I was like, well, I guess I'll eat half and I'll hand it off to you. And then I go to pick it up and it comes off in a section. It was cut
Yeah.
into sections,
They
but you
cut it into
couldn't
like
tell.
3 or 4 sections. Yeah.
Yeah, and you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
And I
No.
just thought, wow, that's cool. And even better than that, when I started to eat it, I realized they had cut off the bottom like
You can lay
3
it
layers
flat.
of corn to make it flat on the bottom so it wasn't rolling around on the dang plate. And that kind of thing really sends me. And that's the kind of detail that like Night Bell really had going on. And when the chef came over to talk to us about the street corn, I pointed out that I really liked that he had done that. And he was all like, thanks for noticing, man. Like, that's just, we don't expect people to really notice that, but we do it very intentionally to keep the corn from rolling around.
Yep.
So high attention to details always scores big points with me.
Yep. And they are way detail oriented. And
Yes.
I tell you, it's like I won't be able to eat there as often as I would like to because I don't know that I can afford it. But
right, it's a little spendy. Yeah,
it is a little spendy,
Yeah.
But it's like, the chef, he, I can't remember his name right now, and I feel bad for mentioning that. But
I don't even try to say
I
people's names, right?
I did a little research on him, and he was under a really famous French chef that I think was friends with Bourdain in New York, and at a Michelin restaurant, and then he had his own gig in Miami, I think, before he came up to do this, and that was a Japanese fusion, not quite the same as this,
right?
And apparently did quite well, and like this guy's got a pedigree, and it's like really nice to see. And we have amazing chefs here, and it's just so nice when another amazing chef shows up. It's like, it validates the people who are here, and it makes our bellies happier. So.
For sure. And he's apparently been living here for quite a number of years, maybe like 12 years, living part-time in Miami and part-time here.
Right
and he actually has a restaurant in Berlin, I believe, Germany.
Oh, wow.
So he's a pretty well-connected dude, but he's been wanting to open a restaurant in Asheville where he's been living part-time for a long, long time. So the way he described it to us, this was a bit of a dream come true for him to open up a local restaurant in Asheville.
And it seemed like it came out of nowhere too. Like, I don't remember hearing grumbles about this or anything. So
yeah, it just popped up. And at first, this building that it's in has a history in Asheville. It was a very cute little Art Deco building that had been, I think it was a garage back in the day, and then it was a heating and cooling place for a long time. And it was an authentic 1940s, what's called streamline deco, Art Deco building. Asheville has the second largest collection of Art Deco buildings in the country, and we're very proud of our Art Deco buildings, and that was one of them, even though it was in a state of disrepair and had not been occupied for many years. And then Bar Taco, which is a small but powerful chain, came to Asheville, and they renovated it and took away all the Art Deco details and made it look like a hacienda or like a beach hut type of thing. And they were serving Baja style tacos for a while. And they incurred the wrath of Asheville, including me. I wrote an opinion piece about it. And I wrote the piece, and I expected to get a lot of hate in return for this. Anytime you express an opinion, you get a lot of hate. But man, it seemed like everybody agreed with me. Like, they should have maintained the integrity of the Art Deco, but they didn't. So that was gone. And then Bar Taco got bought up by a bigger conglomeration and decided to shed their bottom 5 assets, which Asheville was one of them. So that was gone. But now this building was renovated, and Futo Buta moved in, which was like a Japanese ramen type of place. Mm-hmm. And I went to the soft opening, and I never got a chance to go back because COVID came to town.
Yep, pandemic, because they opened right before the pandemic, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And they were probably going to be phenomenally popular. The atmosphere wasn't really my jam. It was a little like Tokyo Underground cartoons and loud music and stuff like that. And it was, I don't know, for a younger crowd, perhaps, than
anime for breakfast.
Yes. So, but I was imagining it was going to be very popular, but it didn't survive. Now that owner does have another restaurant in Raleigh or Charlotte or someplace like that, so I'm sure he's fine. I hope so. And then when the steakhouse sign went up, I was like, ruh-roh, here we go again. And then I heard that he had restaurants in Miami, and I was like, oh man, this is Bar Taco Part 2. Like, what's happening? But of course, all is forgiven with this phenomenal service, the amazing food, and these people never did anything we need to forgive them for. And
Yeah.
I straight up told him that. I was like, you came in like 3 layers after like the local hate for trash in this building. So ain't nobody going to give you hate about this building, which is great. Because I feel like even Fudo Buddha suffered a little bit from the ire of the locals.
Kind of like a hangover. Yeah.
Yes, totally, Rick. But the hangover is past, and everybody can freely love on Yukaya Japanese Steakhouse. And I did not know this. Maybe you did. That Yukaya is haiku spelled backwards.
It's haiku spelled backwards. So.
I didn't know that. It's clever.
I have a friend in Portland, Oregon, whose oldest kid is named Yukaya. So.
For that reason? Because it's haiku spelled backwards?
I don't know, but that was where I first heard the word, and I remember hanging out with him, drinking beers in Portland, and him going like, "Yeah, it's haiku spelled backwards," and I was like, "Oh yeah,
yeah, it is." Well, you brought up Portland, so perfect segue to talk about some of the food that I experienced on my trip. Just one last shout out to Yukaya Japanese Steakhouse. Rick and I both highly recommend it. If you like raw oysters, try the raw oysters. If you're able to eat deep fried things, get that deep fried mushroom thing. It's a superstar. And pry some dollar bills out of your pocket and spring for some Wagyu steak. You won't regret it. All right, Rick. So my girlfriend, Dawn, she took us on a birthday adventure for her birthday. I do not like to travel. That's something that I am ashamed to admit. I like being there. I hate getting there. And I love being home, and I love getting home. And so a lot of times to get me to travel, she's like, I booked us a trip. And so that's what she did. And so we flew we had some little layovers, which I'll just mention so you understand how long it took us to take this trip. We flew from Asheville to Atlanta to Portland. We spent a night in Portland hanging out with our friends, and then we flew from Portland to Seattle to Juneau, Alaska, which you cannot get to Juneau, Alaska by car. You can only get there by boat or plane. There are no roads that lead to Juneau. And when you're in Juneau, you can drive to the end of the road, like they just amped in the woods. And you're like, what's going on? Am I in a Stephen King movie? I can't drive out of this town. And then from Juneau, we stayed about a week, a little bit less in Juneau. And then from there, we flew to Anchorage. And then we drove to a place called Girdwood, where we stayed at the Alyeska Resort Hotel. And we took a day trip to Whittier, Alaska, where we took a glacier cruise ship and it was very small. When I say cruise ship, don't imagine Princess Cruises. Imagine like 3-hour tour.
50-person cruise,
something like that. And we looked at some glaciers, and that was intense. And then we flew back to Seattle for a little layover, and not like just 1 hour layover, and then back to Portland, where we spent another week in Portland, and then Atlanta and back to Asheville. So a lot of flying for me, my least favorite activity. So took some Xanax on the way home, which I don't usually do, but I was like, screw this anxiety. I'm taking some Xanax. And I ate some gummies, and I always wolf down Benadryl, so I sleep a lot.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Drugs will see me through.
I had a friend in graduate school who was German, and when she would fly back to Germany to see her folks or her family over there, she would have to take a lot of drugs to get there. So I get it.
Yeah, high anxiety time for me.
Yeah.
But being there, awesome. I love being there. And so I'll just say that Portland, Oregon is one of the kookiest, craziest cities I've ever been in. It is, I don't know, like 50% the most awesome place you've ever been, and 50% the craziest, trashiest, most desperate looking place you've ever been. When's the last time you were there?
I lived there from 2005 to 2006, but I was there as recently as 2016. So
you've seen.
Well, the homeless thing was a West Coast phenomenon and is a West Coast phenomenon. It's actually spreading here now. So so that's been happening for a while, but the last couple of years in Portland have been especially bad. I'm still in touch with a lot of friends there, and it breaks my heart to hear that, because I used to think it was the greatest city in America. So
50% still is. It's like an awesome city with awesome people, a great food scene, like an incredible food scene. The trees in the city, Asheville, which I think is a city that secretly hates trees, should learn a lesson from Portland. You literally can't cut down a tree in your own yard without getting permission from the city, because a lot of the trees are like 100, 150 years old and considered still part of the rainforest up there. So,
and there was actually so Portland's nickname is Stumptown.
yes.
So it was originally over harvested early, and the people that lived there said enough's enough.
Yeah.
And so they've been great stewards ever since those days. But it used to be that you would literally have to, because of the rain, you would have to hop from stump to stump in parts of downtown.
Wow,
before there were
I didn't know
sidewalks.
that.
So I lived there. It was great. It was a wonderful
some
town.
Portland lore from Rick.
So,
I like that.
So, and you went to my favorite coffee place, the Stumptown Roasters, folks.
I did. I went to Stumptown. Now, Pete's is probably the most famous, but according to everybody in Portland, Pete's got bought out by an a-hole, and you don't want to support that a-hole anymore. But Stumptown, still cool, according to the people of Portland. And if there's one thing that you have to be in Portland, it's still cool. Because it's a town of cool people.
It's a lot of hipster quotients.
Yeah. And the coffee scene is great. What was weird to me is that most of the cafes close at 5 p.m. We were having a super hard time finding coffee after 5 p.m. Some of that could have been staffing issues. Nobody could really answer our questions about that.
Yeah.
Great pastries. I frequented a place called the Fresh Pot, so I want to give a shout out to the Fresh Pot in Portland, Oregon. And at the Fresh Pot, they had great coffee from Stumptown, and they had great pastries. And I regret that I don't know where they got their pastries from, but you saw the pictures. It was like a hand pie full of berries and a homemade Pop-Tart, which was one of the greatest things I've ever had.
That sounded really amazing. I was like, man, I would love a homemade Pop-Tart right about now.
Yeah, no more for you. Right. Is a Pop-Tart considered bread?
Yes.
Okay. I promise I won't do that more than 1,000 times on the show. Once I've ridiculed you for the 1,000th time, I'll stop. And it's not ridicule. I have all respect for your decision. I just can't not torment you. I'm sorry.
I am going to eat hot dogs, though. So.
Good. We'll get to that. I got to be cognizant of the time. We've been on the air for 47 minutes, Rick. So Fresh Pot, and one of the things about Fresh Pot that I want to say is that one of the baristas recommended that I go to a taqueria that was, God, I'm so bad at remembering things. It was called Taqueria La Punita, maybe, or something like that. It is a derogatory term for a gay man, but it's run by gay men, and it's like a self-deprecating name for the restaurant. And this barista at Fresh Pot was like, they've got the best tacos in town, and they're kind of new, so they could use some love. And I went, and I got there before they opened. I was with that customer that was like waiting at the door. Hate being that person, but I was like, I got nothing to do for 10 minutes, so I'm just going to sit down and wait for this place to open. And I did a lot of just eating one little thing while I was traveling because I wanted to eat a lot of little things. So I just got a taco. I got one taco. And it was a barbacoa taco.
Barbacoa.
Barbacoa. There you go. Barbacoa taco. And then the unique thing about it was that after they assembled it, they put it back on the grill and they let it sit there for quite a while the outer taco shell, it had two taco shells. They were both corn. While the outer taco shell got crispy, or as they said, it crispened in its own juices. And man, oh man, Rick, I know I throw a lot of superlatives around, but this was definitely one of the best tacos I've ever had.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had a taco made like that, so I'm inclined to believe you. So
I want to find out if anybody in town is doing that or will do that. Like, that was a unique thing, and I paid a dollar more for the barbacoa. A barbacoa in the style of Jalisco, Mexico.
Jalisco, yeah.
Jalisco.
Yeah, there you go.
So So a little bit of eating here and there around Portland, really great places. We went to the top of an office building and ate dinner on the 30th floor, and it was really good. It was for like executives and stuff. So there was
Yeah.
like crab
Is
cakes,
that
and
the Columbia Tower or what's?
it was the Bank Core Tower.
Yes,
Um,
Bangor. Yeah.
it was a grill. It was called Something's Grill up
Yep.
there. And
I've
the
been there.
longtime Portlanders will know it. I guess it's quite a popular place for people to go because of the view from the 30th floor. And the food was actually really good. It was one of our better dining experiences. Just like some fresh shrimp cocktail. And the crab cakes were excellent. They were more just like balls of crab meat that were warmed up, and there was no breading at all. It was kind of
Nice.
wild. It's like crab salad, warm crab salad. It was really good. And Rick, I visited a lot of food pods, and I want to sort of dedicate another segment, another time to the food pods of Portland, Oregon, because it's one of the things they're famous for. And
Oh, yeah.
they were amazing. We visited 4 or 5. I ate at most of them. I couldn't eat at all of them because I was full. But we talked to a bunch of people, and Rick, I have some plans and schemes of my own. There's a reason I looked at so many food pods.
Okay. All
That's
right.
all I'll say about that.
All right.
And then, of course, we bombed up there to Juneau and Anchorage and Whittier, and I watched a YouTube video in which a very cheesy YouTuber told me, "You got to try the chowder when you're up there in Alaska." And I'm from New England. I've ate my fair share of chowder, Rick, and and I was like, "All right." And they do it in the New England style, and I was like, "All right, I'll try that." And no preconceptions, no judgments. I don't go in there wanting to hate the chowder because it's claiming to be New England and it's literally on the other side of the country. It was all really good. I didn't get any bad chowder, and I ate chowder on a boat. That was the glacier boat served us some chowder, and it was the least great of all the chowders, but it was still great.
Yeah.
And the main difference is that I perceived was that these chowders, of course, had salmon in them and added a nice pink chunk every once in a while. It didn't turn the whole chowder pink by any means. And one of them had some crumbled salmon right on top, and that's something I've never seen before. It was really good. But the best one I had big old chunks of salmon. And the other major difference was it was quite a bit thicker for the most part than the New England clam chowder I grew up eating.
Yeah.
Everybody's
it's
got
really
a different
thick.
experience. It's
Yeah.
very thick. Like one of them you could stand the spoon up in for sure. And verging on almost being bread. That's how thick it was. But it was still really tasty, and I wasn't complaining. So if you go to Alaska, I recommend you hit up the chowders. Like everybody says, you got to try the fish, and you do for sure. But that chowder has fish in it. And we ate sushi, and it was excellent. And shout out to the sushi bar inside of the Alyeska Resort Hotel. And we ate, I had some fish and chips that were among the best I've ever had in my life. Some fresh halibut, amazing breading. I took a picture of the French fry, like a standalone picture of the French fry, because it was so good. I don't know what they did to this French fry, Rick, but it was one of the best French fries I've ever had. For real. And we did have some clunker meals. We went to a pho restaurant for lunch, and I didn't feel like getting a whole bowl of pho, and the pho didn't look that good on the menu. And so I ordered some. It was pho and hibachi, so I ordered some hibachi, and it was sticky and thick and sweet and goopy, and filled me up, and that was about it. But for the most part, the food we ate in Alaska, even at the very touristy places, was very good. We went to Tracy's King Crab Shack, which I guess is kind of famous. The inside scoop is that the king crab cakes are no longer made on the premises at Tracy's. She sells so dang many of them now that they get farmed out to a place in Seattle that makes them and then ships them to her. But they are still Tracy's recipe, and they are still local king crab.
Nice.
And they were delicious, like really, really good. And Rick, we were there in Juneau right at the end of the COVID shutdown, and they were just about to start letting cruise ships come back in. And let me tell you something about Juneau, Alaska. And we live here in Asheville, North Carolina, which is a small city that attracts a lot of tourists. And it can be very overwhelming for the city and for the people of Asheville, and it can build a lot of resentment of and conflict. Like, tourism brings money, but when tourists come, they book every restaurant, they eat every shred of food, and they tear up our streets and sidewalks, and we're like, where's the Asheville we fell in love with? Now, imagine this. Juneau is a town with a population of about 32,000 people. And
So about
every day,
1/3 the size of Asheville.
yeah, exactly. And every day, the cruise ships bring between 15 and 20,000 people.
Jesus.
Every day.
Yeah.
And they get off these cruise ships and they swarm into this tiny little downtown.
This is why
like
they don't have
locusts.
roads outside of the city limits, because they don't want them infecting the rest of the state.
That's right. It's like a zombie virus. Yeah, they get on their cruise ships and they go invade the next place, Rick. Like, don't even.
Oh yeah,
So,
I know. Yeah.
And then here's what that brings. Like, my friend who had lived there for 30 years, who moved there from Seattle, from Portland, or maybe I'm not sure, maybe Michigan. She's actually Dawn's friend. I met her for the first time up there, but we became friends. And she's been up there for 30 years, and this is the way she described it. They come to our city, they eat everything, they book every restaurant, they poop in our toilets, clog up our systems, walk all over the green stuff, take dog sleds up to the glacier all day long with these tourist dog sleds. They fly helicopters all day long, which creates a crazy amount of noise, and prop airplanes all day long, like all day. She says they take off, land all day long, and creates a ton of noise. And so she moved there to get away from the city, more or less. That's why people move to Alaska, for one of the reasons. And the other reason is they moved there to make money during tourist season, and then they moved back to wherever they came from.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. If you think Asheville's got a tourist problem, Juneau, Alaska, man, that's a nightmare. And if you think Asheville's got a homeless problem, Portland, Oregon, nightmare.
Oh yeah.
So traveling, I try to see the good and the bad and spend time with locals and do a few touristy things like this glacier boat, and we took a tram up a mountain and stuff like that. But we try to just like chill and relax and check out the restaurants and stuff. So good travels. Good food.
Fantastic. I'm so glad you got to go. So
yeah,
it's the one state I haven't been to yet, is Alaska. So
you meet a
and
lot
I
of
lived
people
in Seattle, which was stupid, but
yeah, it's not that far. But Rick, you're a young man and you have plenty of time to get yourself up to Alaska. I recommend it to anybody. The scenery is sublime. Like, it's beautiful here.
Maybe we'll go for my 60th birthday. There you go.
Hit it up. Do it. When's that? Next year? Just kidding. Rick's in his 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just turned 55 last week, Rick, or this week.
I just turned 56. So.
Okay. Well, I'm catching up.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass you soon. So, all right. So it's 58 minutes of the show. We got 2 more minutes of the show. Rick, I didn't leave any time for you to interview me about hot dogs.
I know.
Now,
you
we
must
can do
have been
that
scared.
next week because the hot dog thing is next week. But we'll
oh,
do
that's
that
right. It's Saturday. So we could do it next week. Let's do it next week. Because I have some hardball questions that need to be answered.
Okay, cool, man. I did just smell the hot dog trophy from those watching. It's made out of
I'll point out,
vinyl.
even though I'm not eating bread, I'm totally, because I signed up to do the VIP ticket treatment there, and I'm doing it. I'm gonna eat my hot dogs.
Good. You get 10 hot dogs. Do you understand you don't get 20 hot dogs for your VIP ticket? Because people were like, it's an admit to. It's very complicated. I
got to talk to you about that because I got a buddy coming in town that weekend too.
Okay.
So
there's still a VIP ticket left. I don't
want to buy 2 people's worth because he's not going to eat 2 people's worth of food.
But
we'll talk.
There's only 10 hot dogs that you get with the VIP ticket. You're supposed to split those with your friend because I don't think any human being can eat 10 hot dogs and still have a good time. So I made it, but I'm trying to force everybody who gets to vote is being forced to try all the hot dogs.
Oh, yeah.
As a food judge in the past, it irks me that the public gets to vote and they eat like 3 chicken wings or, a hamburger and a half.
You don't get to vote if you don't eat everything that's voted on.
That's what I say. Yes. So you got to bring a friend to help you eat the hot dogs. That's it. I always make everything too complicated, Rick.
Yeah.
But it's next week, 31st, at the Masonic Temple. It's a fundraiser to raise money for the Masonic Temple, which is in need of repairs, especially their beautiful theater backdrops, which are incredible and historic and very noteworthy.
All right. Well, we'll hit it next week then.
We will. Well, Rick, thanks for joining me. It's been a long time. I missed you, brother. Wings up. I'll try to eat some wings.
Wings up.
I'll see you next week.
All right. See you next week.
All right. Take care.